Okay, welcome everyone. This is Jeff Simon, current president of Chicago Lions, which includes the Chicago Lions Charitable Association and the rugby. And I've got with me a Lions legend and he's the longest tenured president of the Chicago Lions. He served as 8 years in the early years, Dick Smith. And we got Carolee looking in on the corner there.
Yeah.
Say hello.
We had a sign up there.
Yeah, pop up.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. So we're happy. I'm glad we're able to connect. Got his Lions shirt on. You can see some of all his plaques and awards.
That's
Dick
all I have
been-
to wear.
Yeah. That's what my wife thinks all I have is
Yeah.
Lions gear. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the things that Dick is also in the USA Rugby Hall of Fame as well, and is really not just a Lions legend, but a legend in the USA Rugby community. So Dick, a lot of people have been asking me, hey, how's Dick doing? What's going on with Dick Smith lately? So I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity now that we did one of these interviews with Paul McNaughton. It went well, and thought the next person logical choice would be you. So why don't you kind of give us a little update on where you're at, what you're doing these days, how you doing?
Yeah. I sold my company, and so I'm too old to get a job now. No one will hire someone 82 years old. And so we're kind of house sitting for Paige. Paige, my daughter, just bought a financial company, stocks and bonds down in Fort Worth, Texas. So we're here for, we've been here for 5 years. And in fact, I'm, but I support the major league team here, the Warriors, which are a very good team. It's interesting, you see the teams, you wouldn't even recognize them. They're mostly Polynesians here, but then they get them from around the world now. So it's a really good brand of rugby. And they get 5,000 people, 3,000, 5,000 people out for every game.
Oh, that's pretty good. So
It's fabulous.
yeah, and they're in the playoffs now against LA, right? This
Yes.
coming week. Yeah.
It's really good. It's for season tickets, like it's $750 for season tickets. So they're making some money.
Well, that's good. And that's where the MLR kind of started out from, with the guys out of Utah, correct?
Yeah. I don't know who the men are. There's a lot of money behind it, and I don't know the men who in all the different clubs, but they're spending a lot of money. We have to fight people to just get $20 dues.
Yeah.
These people are spending hundreds of millions.
Right. Exactly. So that's good. And how's the rest of the Smith family doing?
Good, real good. Our daughter Paige, not Paige, but Callan, just arrived back from Japan. She and her husband, he's a colonel in the Marine Corps, and they've been over in Okinawa for 3 years. And now they're back. They're going to be in San Diego now. So, and we're looking forward to see our new baby, her son, is 14 months old. So it's pretty exciting.
That's great.
And Kim, it's probably know Kim. Kim is still with Ed Jones in Seattle.
Yeah, she popped into the in an event we had at the field.
Yeah.
I think that was great to see her. I think can't remember with the obviously pre-pandemic, but yeah.
Yeah. So we're a rugby family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my son's doing good. He lost his leg in a motorcycle accident some years ago. Mm-hmm. And but he's 6'9" and doing fine.
Well, good. That's good. So tell us about the early, how the club got going. You joined at kind of the second year, right? When it started?
I'm not exactly sure when it started, but in 1964, I was reading the Sunday paper in Chicago, in the magazine section, and there was a very nice article with pictures about rugby. And Dr. McIntyre, who was up on the North Shore, had a club up there. So I called him, and he was speaking to me for about 20 minutes. And he said, well, I've got to get off the phone here. This woman is looking really cold. But he had some woman sitting on a table for an exam. And he's talking to me about rugby for 20 minutes. But that's the way McIntyre was. We'd be on a plane going somewhere, and the stewardess would come on and say, you know, Dr. McIntyre, just to let you know, you left your car at the curb again. I mean, he was kind of a silly doctor. But that was in 1964, and he suggested that I contact Bill Walker in the city of Chicago, because it would be too far to go up to wherever he was to go to training. Mm-hmm. And so I did, and I went down and watched them play, and you know, at halftime, you know, I introduced myself to Bill Walker, who had played at Virginia, and he was a lawyer, very nice man. And he had his nose broken in the first half, and he said, okay, you go in for me and follow that big guy, Pat Halpern. And he said, just tackle someone without our color shirt. And that's actually really how I got started. And he had a wonderful bunch of guys playing, but they were like the English, where you play the game. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. You know, a good game was had, and they had a couple of beers. And of course, I'm coming out of the Marine Corps, and I can't stand losing. And so at our club meeting, and I light into them about failure and that we have to change the way we play. And they didn't like any part of that. And they said, look, if you can do better, you know, run for office. And so I became the president of the club, and I started going out getting recruits. You know, we had a little band of people that we went around and got players. And in 1964, we didn't win any games. And when I took over in 1965, we played 22 games, and we won all of them. And we won the Midwest, we beat the Ontario champions, and we were on our way to being a bigger club. And we started getting lots of people. And so we, you know, it kind of built up to be four clubs aside every weekend, and everybody got to play. And then, of course, as you know, some of the fellows thought they should have more playing time. And so they started their own clubs, like the Griffins, which was perfect for us, because it's one less travel trip.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so Amico, another good team. And we got to play them, and we started to grow. And we had the city of Chicago name. And so we decided that wasn't a good idea, because the University of Chicago, we'd get confused with them. And so we had a meeting at my house in Wilmette. And I think it was John Bellino, Dave Blears, John Rood, Bill Thornton, and Mike Flahout. And we kind of sat around talking about, you know, what kind of a name should we have? And of course, you know, John Bellino he wanted the Chicago Spiders. That didn't work for anyone. And so we were talking about the Lions in front of the Art Institute, and we thought, you know, that would be really a good name. And we had a gift that we could give to visiting teams, the Lions in front. And so we put it up before the club, and they voted on it, and we became the Chicago Lions. And of course, 65, 66, 67, it was growing. We invited Richmond, England to visit on their US tour, and they came to Chicago, and they were what we wanted to be. They showed up, they were great people. They're all in blazers. They knew how to play, they played hard, They had they were great fun at the parties. And at the end of the game where we lost by 3 or 4 points, because, we were still playing black and blue rugby. And John Riley, who was the head of the club, came to me and he said, "Dick, what was that?" And I said, "That was rugby." He said, "No, that's not rugby. That you're just trying to knock us out." And of course we did knock some of them out. And so he said, "You really should come to England and let us have coaches for you and set up games to where you can play at your level." And I said, well, great, we'll do that. I said, "What time would be the right time?" He said, "Well, the beginning of September before our season starts." I said, "Okay, we'll be there." He said, "No, wait, no, you have to check with your club, right?" I said, "No, I run the club, we'll be there." And so we passed the word around. And, it's just, when you don't know anything, you ask questions and you do things that it seems silly. But so I called the airline and I chartered a whole plane. I didn't have to put up any money. It was 260 people. And I wasn't smart enough to charge extra so that the club would get money. But it was like $160 round trip from Chicago O'Hare. And so that word got around the Midwest. And I had to charter another plane for 160 people. So we took 430 people to England on our first tour.
Wow, I never heard that story before.
Yeah. And of course, Richmond, they were going to host us and billet us. And they see all these people getting off the plane, just 100 of them at a time. And they thought, well, we can't put up everyone. I said, "Oh, no, they're on vacation." But they would come to the games and everything. It was spectacular. And Richmond, we became Richmond. I mean, we tried to be as good as they were, and we did it. And in fact, we stayed in touch with the leaders of Richmond until they died, because they were older.
Mm-hmm.
And we really, really appreciated everything they did for us. And of course, the true English rugby guys, they would eat everything at a party, all the flowers off the table. My wife at the time said, "Well, I went to get the flowers, but they had eaten them all." And every port they let it on, Johnny Walker had 10 cases of scotch for them. I mean, it's just way to travel.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah, but that was like one of the best things that ever happened to us, to build a club.
Right.
And of course, when we went to England, I bought 50 tickets to Hare before we went. Of course, it was like the biggest thing, and none of us had ever been to the theater. And they're like, "Oh, who wants to go to a theater?" So, and the second time we went over, we went to see Cats. They were astounded. They were like, because we hadn't done anything like that, right. And it helped build the team in different ways. It was wonderful.
That's great.
But that is really how it really started the Lions. People wanted to.
Then CARFU got built up more, and then how did the Midwest and then USA Rugby evolve and all that?
Yeah, I became president of the Midwest Rugby Union, and in 1969 there was a call of a meeting to try to form the U.S. Union, and the meeting was in Chicago, and we didn't even know about it. No one invited us, and no harm, no foul. And so in 1975, we called another meeting in Chicago, and I was dumb enough to say, well, let me handle all the details. And so I knew everybody wanted to form a union, and I knew they all wanted the same things, but you can't get them together and talk about it because they always seem to get mixed up. And so what I did was I had everybody write position papers. And so every time I would get a position paper from someone, I'd copy it and send it out to everyone so that they could read it and see where they didn't like things, or they like things that they stand behind. But over the period of a year, I sent out 5,000 position papers.
And just so for the younger generation, that was using a typewriter and regular mail, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and not only that, using the firm I worked for, using all their stuff. They didn't like that at all. But anyway, and then I also knew that being around the guys all the time, everybody kind of seems to talk the same language. And so we had a dinner party the night before the meeting, 1,000 right across from the Drake. Dave Blears and John Root had an apartment there, and so they got to use the penthouse party room on the top.
Party room, yeah.
And so we had a dinner party for 110 people, and the Smith girls, Madeline and my two daughters, made all the food for the 110 people. And so, and people came, and everyone was coming. And on the Wednesday before the get-together, Dick Moneymaker from the West Coast called me and said, Dick, you know, it's just not time. It's not time for rugby. We don't feel comfortable coming in. I said, well, you know, I don't really know you, but I want to tell you something. You better fucking learn how to play soccer, because I have all the votes in my pocket, and on Saturday there's going to be a union. And he said, well, West Coast, Dick Moneymaker and all these guys. Mm-hmm. And they had a beef with the East Coast. So, you know, it was one of those things. And so and the thing is, when you get them together and talking after the position papers, and you give them a couple of drinks and they talk to people who they think they have a beef with, they don't have a beef with them. They're all looking for the same thing. So we had the meeting at 10 o'clock at the Hyatt on Saturday morning. And by 1 o'clock, we had a United States Rugby Union.
Amazing.
And that's how it started. So we all went to the Italian Village.
Oh, and that's your place, right? The Italian Village is your place, right?
And had another meeting. But that's the way it happened. And then the other silly thing I did was I volunteered to run the game between France and the US. And now, why do you think you can get the money and make it all work when you have an Irish city and you're bringing in a French team? You know, it just doesn't work that way. So it cost about $46,000 to put the game on. What year? And this is 1975. And so the US Union said, we have not a penny in our fund, so you're going to have to raise it all yourself. So the Lions and me had to do everything. We had to raise the money and make the programs and get the fields. And I mean, it just went on and on. And so Dennis Dunn, who played for us for a long time, a great guy. He was a stockbroker at Payne Weber and my son's godfather. And so he took time off to take care of the stands to make sure that they're right and everything. He called me and said, we don't have enough stands here at the New Trier West. That's really
my alma mater.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, we had 10 high schools playing rugby then. And so New Trier West had a team, and they were going to take on the role of helping out. Well, he calls me and he says, oh, and he said, we need more stands. I said, I'm a bond broker. What do you want me to do? And so we start calling around, and finally I find a carnival, and Mr. Meadows or something. And so I said, I need to rent some stands. And he said, okay, I have some. But they're the kind of stands where you stand up. And that was all right with me. So we got enough for 2,000 more people. And so they're going to show up in New True West, and the boys were going to, Dennis will organize them and get them to unload the trucks and put them up and all that stuff. So Dennis calls me and says, hey, Dick, the New True West boys aren't here. I said, good Lord, what are we going to do? He said, well, we have 2 truckloads of stuff. I said, well, go ask the drivers if we could hire them to help unload and put it together. He calls me back and he said, they each want $500. I said, oh, good Lord. I said, we don't have a choice, do we? He said, no, we don't have a choice. And he starts laughing. I said, what's funny about that, Dennis? That's $1,000. He said, well, to help the guys, the people who are driving the trucks, it's the fat lady from the carnival and her husband, Mickey the midget, in a one-piece jumpsuit. And that's who the people were. And so there they are unloading all this stuff. Dennis was hysterical. And so we got it up, and we had seats for a standing room for 2,000 more people.
Oh, that's great. So how many people did you end up having at the game?
Close to 5,000.
What'd you charge a ticket at that time? You remember?
I think it was $5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had contracts. I didn't realize getting into this, you have to sign contracts with the teams. So the French, they wanted cold, like lettuce, tomato sandwiches in the changing room for after the game, a chilled white wine, and you have to agree to this stuff. And I had to do it. And at the end, when I walked in there, at the end, there's all the food and the wine, and they didn't, So then we had a barbecue that we took them to before we had the original dinner party. And of course, then their feelings were hurt because we had like corn on the cob and everything. They thought only cows ate corn on the cob. and so we had all these kind of strange things. But we had the U.S. team at the Chicago Athletic Club, and the Conrad, the Hilton. We had the French team. So they're both walking across the street to the fields. It was great. It was perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the first USA Rugby match.
That was, yeah. And of course, we had beaten the French in the Olympics in 20,
yes.
in 20 and 24.
Right.
So this was 1976 that we're playing them. And it's kind of a big deal. And they're so used to 60,000, 100,000 people in their stadiums. But they were thrilled that we had the 5,000 and that they were part of a bicentennial function.
Oh, right.
We did. And leading up to the game, we knew the people in France would like to see this. So I had some people helping me. And so we worked out a deal with WGN. That's your TV station, right? WGN?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, world's greatest newspaper. That's right. And so we made a deal, and then we contacted the French people, and so we got $10,000 from the French people, and we paid WGN $10,000 to send it live. And the game was going off at like 3 o'clock our time, which would have put it into the dark hours over in France.
Right.
But it was well received and great. And so, another thing that we did that we didn't know we could do.
Well, there you are. You're always you're a mover and a shaker, and you get things done. That's kind of how this club got going. So,
Not only that, here's something. Now, we would go to the Aquatennial each year, and what we would do up in Minneapolis. And so we figured out you could actually rent a whole car on the train. And that way, none of us would have to drive and all that stuff. And so I talked Mike Flaha into being the guy who organizes it all. And so he did some research. And so you could go over there and give them a check Friday night where it can't get to the bank. And they give you 50 tickets. We would get the 50 tickets. We would get on board the train. And before the conductor came around and punched the tickets, we'd go up to the front of the train with a couple of pretty girls that we have and offer people to come to the last car on the train for a party. And all you had to do is give us your tickets. And so people would come back, guys that are traveling by themselves. We get their tickets, and then Flaha would run to the train station in the Monday morning and cash the tickets in, and then race to the bank to cover the check. And so we did that for 3 years in a row.
that's creative financing.
That is.
So, what would you say would be like your favorite? I mean, you got stories and memories, obviously, for all the years. If you could, I know it's probably hard, but if you said, okay, this is like my favorite on-field Chicago Lion rugby memory, what would that be?
Well, on-field would be, that'd be hard because, we had such great players. There was a whole period of time we had a lot of doctors, or guys that were going to be doctors, and they were just tremendous athletes. And that's what really helped us become who we were too. Jerry Millers and just wonderful guys. Special things on the field. Guys did so many good things and played above their levels sometimes when they had to. What I really think about is how they all got behind becoming a big club with the Blazers and the whole thing, and Christmas parties that were really, really good. A wonderful time that we had. We were asked to play in Michigan City one summer. They have a big summer festival, and they have a drum and bugle contest, which is ridiculously good. And so the winner of the drum and bugle was going to play at the halftime of our game, 7:00 kickoff on a Friday night. And they were paying us $1,800. And it was the Chicago Lions against the Indiana All-Stars. And so I took the $1,800 and went down, and there were 3 big houses, 3-story houses on the beach. And the beach is like the beaches back in New Jersey, big sandy beaches, not like Chicago. And so I rented the 3 houses, and it was no children. Men did all the cooking for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so we played the game, the game was going to go on. And so the Indiana All-Stars is when you were going to take the field, you were given a black shirt or a red shirt because it was still the Chicago Lions. There was no such thing as Indiana All-Stars. And so the team takes the field, Lions, big thugs, everybody hated us, booed us. Indiana All-Stars, really the Chicago Lions, wearing red shirts, 5,000 people cheering them, and it was spectacular. So that was a big deal to us. We really enjoyed that.
That's great. How about off-field? Well, that's kind of on-field, off-field. Any kind of like trip or anything, favorite off-field memory?
Well, the tours that we would take, going to England was like such a big deal. It was like Jerry Miller once said to me, he said, Dick, he said, I'm just a South Side Chicago guy. To think that I went to England and went to the theater and did all these things. He said, never in my life would I think that I would do that. Now, thinking about Jerry, we rented a Winnebago to go play up in St. Paul, a big tournament they had each year. And Jerry Olson, myself, and maybe 8 guys. And brought the Winnebago back, and there was a cigarette burn in the seat. The owner who rented it to us blew his top and blah, blah, blah. So we want to rent another one. So we go over and we say we're the Chicago soccer team. And we went to rent the Winnebago again. And so here we go. And there's 7 or 8 of us, and we're going to sleep on it. It's going to be cheaper. We're not going to spend any money. So here we go. We were picking up one of the guys, Tyke's friend, or worked with him or something, in Wisconsin, because he was up there making sales calls. So we're swinging in to pick him up at the motel, big hotel motel. And he's waving to us. He's just waving, and we're like, oh, there he is. And we're waving. Well, we didn't know he was going like this to stop. So we drive under the portico, and we cut the 2 air conditioners and the luggage rack right off the top of the Winnebago. And we're like, holy shit, what are we gonna do now? So we put it all inside on the floor, and nobody really wants to go play, so we have to. So we're driving along, and Jerry said, he'll drive, I'll drive. I didn't drink anything. And so he's driving the Winnebago, and Vukovic puts the big pot of mostaccioli sauce and stuff on the cooker. And all of a sudden, Jerry jumps lanes. And to, like, we thought we were going to hit a car or something. We didn't know whether it was into the wacky tobacco or what. We changed lanes, and all the sauce jumps off the stove, and now it looks like a slaughterhouse. Now we're like, oh my Christ. So we pull off and we go into a bar, and we ask the guy, do you have a squeegee? So we squeegee, because you should never help people anyway. We squeegee it all right in front of his bar. all the blood and all that stuff out there. And so off we go, and we get up there, and it's too cold to sleep in the Winnebago, so we have to rent rooms.
Because of the hole in it.
Because of the hole, yeah. There's a hole in the top, big holes in the top of the Winnebago. So we go to the tournament, and we win the tournament, and so boys are drinking, and I wasn't drinking, so I'll drive us back to the hotel so we could shower and then drive home. So, and it's narrow, cars on both sides, and I'm driving, and I see a car coming, and so I'm kind of easing over very gently, and I get stuck on a car. I'd gone too far, and in getting off the car, I tore 2 doors off the Winnebago and injured the car, which the guy wanted $600, and I gave him $300 and told him my name was John Bellino and I would send him the rest. So we, then of course, now the doors are gone. And this is like driving home. It looked like we came from a wreckage yard. And so we got 2 of the big guys on the team to go back and bring it back. And the guy was tickled to death. He said, you guys took out insurance. He said, you've wrecked my Winnebago. I can get a new one. And he said, don't ever come back. So,
well, good thing you took out the insurance.
oh, yeah. But that was enough terrible. It was frightening. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Plus, and then we were always invited into the St. Patrick's Day parades, and that was always a big deal for us. And Mayor Daley loved to see Dennis Dunn because, his whole family was big in politics.
Okay.
And And I think that's, we did things like that. It was, I was trying to think of things that might be more interesting than that, but that's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think those are great stories. I guess like one thing that I would ask, obviously we're, in the last several years, we've kind of evolved. We now have a youth program from rookie rugby to middle school to high school. We've had women's sevens for about 10 years. Now we've got women's 15s and the men's and so forth. What would you tell today's Chicago Lions players? What does it mean? What should they take away from this on being a Chicago Lion? I just thought about that question. Thought it'd be a good one.
Well, it's one of the things that people seem to miss nowadays is the camaraderie of being a part of a team, a club, or something that means something. And that's one of the things that we always offered to everyone who wanted to be part of a group. Well, they didn't know they wanted to be part of a group, but once they joined in, and it's that camaraderie that it's like the Marine Corps. It's like when a lot of people coming out of the service now, they're so used to being in that squad. They get home and they're alone. Now they should join the rugby team because that's what they've left. And that's what you get when you join the Chicago Lions.
Okay, great. Awesome. That's about all I had. Any last words you want to say or anything?
I'm just trying to see if there's anything that we did that you can't even mention.
Sure, there's a lot of those.
I try to write down some of the things, but that's pretty much the fun things that help make the club, and things that you have to learn that you don't do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very important to the club of what you're doing, and of course, Pike and all that other stuff. That's fabulous.
No, thank you. And what year did you leave Chicago again? I was trying to remember that.
Let's see. I think 1977, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I took a job in Seattle.
Right.
And then I worked for like 2 weeks and then left because I was going on tour for 2 weeks. And they had forgotten that they had promised I could do that. And that was nice.
Yeah.
But
And then also with that, you were, people don't know, you were heavily involved with Old Puget Sound for a long time, right?
Yeah. Old Puget Sound. And I was I took the US team to Hong Kong. And we won the first time a North American team won a championship there in sevens.
Mm-hmm.
And
Founded the Loggers.
founded the Loggers in Seattle, and in fact started the Northwest Union, and then took the Pacific Coast sevens team and went back and won championships in Virginia. National championship.
Yep. Okay.
So lots of things.
Yes, absolutely. So
I'd have no life if it wasn't for rugby.
yeah, I think we all are like that. So all right, I'm gonna
anyone's looking to hire an 82-year-old rugby guy, let me know.
All right. We'll work on that. So
Yeah.
all right, well, I'm gonna turn off the recording, and thanks for doing this for us.
All right, I'm glad I could.
I think I'm stopping it.
Just